In this theory, the extra dimensions of string theory are just future possibilities and opportunities in our one three-dimensional universe of continuous energy exchange, continuous creation. We have an emergent future with the exchange of photon energy and movement of charge, with the build-up and organization of charge across the membrane of each living cell within our body. Whenever we touch something, it is charge that makes contact.
In this video, I'll be going into a scientific hypothesis on how potentially everything is the light. I've been going into this theme for the past few weeks, delving into Nikola Tesla's alleged interview where he stated that quote-unquote everything is the light, despite the issues relating to the origin of the interview, which I will address and will take me into topics like contemporary scientists to Tesla who had altered states of consciousness experiences and were shown such truth about the universe relating to this light, and were praised by Tesla himself. The rise of occult groups, especially around New York in the 1900s, like Theosophy and Modern Rosicrucians, along with their initial publications which dealt with ancient alchemical concepts like acid, the philosopher's stone, and even the very ether Tesla spoke about, which allegedly this interview was taken from, which the advent of the contemporary quantum physics movement and the pioneers were staring right at. Given that this is more than I initially thought this interview would take me into, I will be in the scientific framework I had originally planned, with pragmatic theories and scientific research, along with the reasons why this theme of the light could change our current paradigm of reality, our understanding of who and what we are, and where exactly we might going to. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so into this video I'm gonna be going into this article right here. Potentially everything is a lie. This comes on a sort of a mainstream blog. This is not a usual blog that I go into. This is gonna go into pragmatic philosophy, because although it is a scientific proposition, this is not published research, this is not actual research. This is simply a very interesting scientific proposition that is linked to the interview allegedly given by Tesla that I've been going into for the last few weeks. As I mentioned when I started to go into this interview, I thought it was simply part of this play that everybody talks about, and even in this article they go into and saying that probably Tesla didn't really say this. However, the more I go into this interview, the more it keeps blowing my mind, and as I corroborated some of the real published articles by Tesla, some of his ideas, the whole context, the environment, I realized there's so much more to this interview, and in the worst case, considering that it would be quote-unquote fake, we're looking into the ideas of Tesla, and what has opened for me going through this interview is amazing. I'm gonna be going into Walter Russell and some of his theories. There's some documents dealing with altered states of consciousness, people who had out-of-body experiences during the 1900s and came up with some ideas which Tesla then went on and said this is genius and the world is not ready for this information. So what I'm thinking about is making some videos about everything that happened in the 1900s, dealing with the rise of occultism and occultism groups like Theosophy, especially in around the area of New York where Tesla was living, and all of this comes contemporary to the advent of quantum physics in the 1900s. So there's a lot of little things here that we're looking at. What we're looking at really is the core themes of ether, of this Western mindset looking into Eastern philosophy. And as I went into a recent article that I was looking into related to Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance, I'm going to link it somewhere on the screen. reason I made this video. It's an interesting proposition by Rupert Sheldrake. One of the lines said by the author of that article, it said that the story of 20th century science has been one of the story of 20th century science linking with the ideas that ancient philosophies have been putting forward for millennia. And this is what we're doing here. This is a little bit what this channel is all about. So we have Tesla going into his ideas with the Akashic records and with this quote-unquote luminiferous ether, which I'm going to be covering as I go on with this interview. But I wanted to make this video to start putting this scientific framework, since I'm gonna keep going with the Tesla interview, with everything surrounding this 1900s movement. I figured I'm gonna be putting in the research in between to sort of switch between the two playlists that are the main playlists in this channel. The one from Pragmatic Philosophy, where I feature mostly scientists who talk about their philosophy, and the one of ongoing research, where I actually put on the published research, the most recent research on the things that we're dealing with. So now, why does it even matter that everything is the light? What does it mean? It means everything, and it carries a lot of implications, mainly due because we have the theme of light in ancient philosophies. We have it in these scientific propositions that I'm going to be going into, and I have this is not an actual published research, but I have published research on this theme. And as I said, outer states of consciousness, we have NDEs, OBEs, UFO phenomenon. Everything has some sort of theme of light. I'm gonna expand on this at the end of the video. Why is it important? How could this help us? But TLDR, this will help us tie loose ends that science has not seen, that people do not see, and it would allow us to understand so much better what exactly is at the core of our very reality. Alright, so the article goes forward. Is everything light? Can we describe the universe by considering only electromagnetic energies? When I'm talking about electromagnetic energy, and I do apologize that I cannot highlight certain things here, but because for some reason it's not working on this page, but I'm going to try to just go into this like this. So Nikola Tesla was said to have said everything is light. That is potentially correct. In theory, the universe could be explained by electromagnetic energies, but we're talking about electromagnetic energy. With this being the case, even though Tesla likely never said this. So they go into this in this article. They're saying, they constantly repeat that maybe Tesla didn't say this because, you know, this everything is a light interview, as they say, comes from a play. But I'll be going forward into this, and I'll explain in which possibility could Tesla have said this in this interview, and this might be a real interview or an enhanced version of a real interview for the called publication in the 1900s. However, Tesla did say in other published articles and other published work, and some of his journals and essays, he was talking about this ether, this luminiferous ether that has correlations with ancient medieval ideas of medieval occultism, this luminiferous ether, and he called it as well the quote-unquote cosmic energy, and he was on the brink of finding something amazing, which is why a lot of his ideas were starting to be suppressed. And there's the whole rumor that he might have been assassinated because he was working on very interesting things. However, what they're going to do here is trying to explain why is everything is the light. So they talk about how mass of a system is equivalent to the system. The energy of a system is equivalent, but not necessarily the same as the mass of a system. So it's E equals mc squared. It's the same thing. Energy equals mass, and that E equals mc squared, I'm going to be approaching it in the future. It's not exactly the same, but it's kinda. This is mainly what they're doing in this whole article. It is not the same. We're flesh. Flesh is not light. That's obvious. That's absolutely obvious. We're flesh. We're blood. This is not light, right? How can we say that everything is made of light? But kind of, when you go into the deep of it. So it says here, likewise, the standard model can largely be explained in terms of photons, and photons, like electromagnetic energy, like light, are all just different names for the same thing. Further, grand unification theory, the idea that strong, weak, and electromagnetic force existed as one at some point, and other theories and phenomena like Higgs bosons, quantum field theory, and quantum electrodynamics, understood correctly, all strongly point to a single idea. Everything that we're talking here in the scientific framework that I'm doing, everything that altered states of consciousness talk about and that ancient philosophy talks about, we're all looking at the same thing. This is the metaphor of the elephant. We're blind beings touching an animal, and some people touch different pieces, different parts of the animal, so they all have their own idea, and they're saying the tusk is not the same as the leg, but at the end of the day we're all looking at the elephant. So, which can be expressed in layman's terms as everything is the light, where, to be clear, light is electromagnetic radiation within a certain portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Thus, light, photons, electromagnetic energy, vibrations in the electromagnetic field, etc. are all fundamentally the same thing and all fundamentally equivalent to, although not exactly the same as, mass. So, I'm gonna be rushing through this whole article. Number one, because this is not published research. This is a theory. This is an idea. I want to make these videos a little bit shorter because I don't want to convince anyone. I just want to put the bolts of research and data out there so people can go through them. If you click to the grand unification theory, it's going to have a link where it tells you a little bit about it. And then this is Wikipedia. Wikipedia is nothing. But if you actually go into the theory, you will understand the theory. If you want to go into light, electromagnetic radiation, they're going to explain to you what exactly is this electromagnetic radiation, what exactly is visible light. So they say, okay, blood and flesh and matter and my chair and my desk are not light, they are matter. But what matter is at the core is the reflection of visible light. Visible light is what we can see in the electromagnetic spectrum. There's a lot of things that we cannot see but still exist. This is what the whole thing is about. So you can go through all of this. I'm going to link this below. You can go through it and come up with any theory that you want regarding this, whether it's true or not. Alright, so it is explained right here. It goes into a tip. They give you a tip to understand what they're talking about, which is what I should be doing. I should be giving tips of what I'm talking about. Okay, on this page we are using light as a synonym for electromagnetic force in any state. We're not only talking about our perception of light as electromagnetic radiation within a visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. This is what I just said. So we're not talking just about the light that we see. Of course, our bodies, our desk, whatever you're looking at this moment, matter. A tree is not a light. This is what we perceive as light from the sun or from our light bulb or whatever. We are looking at this energy in the visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. We are what they're saying in this article. We are talking about all electromagnetic force, quote unquote, energy, photons, electromagnetic force bound in electrons, electromagnetic force in fermions, photons stored as potential and kinetic energy, virtual photons, etc. We're talking about the whole thing at the core. Which, if Tesla did actually say everything is light, is what he would have been talking about, and in the famous quote above, this is what he is talking about. Thus, the page could just as easily be discussing the idea that everything, quote unquote, everything is energy. That is what I'm talking about. Everything at the core is energy, and I repeated multiple times in this channel. We're talking about what is energy at the core. So, okay. Everything is light. We're saying the same. Everything is energy, or that everything is photons, or that everything is electromagnetic energy. We're not looking at semantics, and this I've said before. What bothers me is that people get lost in semantics and the connotation of words. We're talking. Why am I going into this whole thing of everything is the light? Why are we doing this? Is it to confuse? Is it to get lost into semantics? No. What we're doing is trying to figure out what is reality made of at the core of everything. And as they're saying here, and I really like how they put it here, we are looking at a metaphysical aspect of theoretical physics. This is not what they don't do this because they're afraid of it. They're afraid of the ridicule. They're afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of dreaming a little bit too much. But this is what the theoretical physics are talking about. This is why Einstein called it spooky action. This is why they say, if you look into, I don't remember which one said it, one of one of the pioneers of quantum physics in the 1900s said, if you look at it closely, you start going through so much science that you start looking at God. They don't want to go into it because this metaphysical world is woo, is nonsense. It doesn't make sense. We don't want to look at it. What is light? Or a less complicated question, what isn't light? Everything at the core is energy, which is what we're talking about. Energy, which at the core, what is energy? That's what I was going to talk about 1 minute ago. What is energy? It's information. We're living, and I've said this multiple times in this channel, we seem to be living in a matrix of information. So of course, all of these ties with the ORCH OR theory, I'll be going into that at the end of the video. So we're talking about pure information. So if you don't understand what light is, if you're coming to my channel, you don't understand any of these things, go and watch this video. It's one of those like 5-minute videos which tells you exactly what is light. It'll give you some perspective. I'm also gonna link right now on the screen one of the videos I made on the double slit experiment to understand quantum physics and what they're telling us, what exactly is at the core of everything. I made this video, an in-depth look at the double slit experiment. So if you don't understand the basics here, you can go into those videos. This is something that should be taught everywhere, because this will allow us to understand what exactly is the world that we live in. I goes on to say why the theory that everything is light is a rational theory. For Tesla's theory, or perhaps more correctly, speculative hypothesis that everything is light to be taken seriously, the following logic needs to be considered. First off, the Nikola Tesla interview from which the quote supposedly comes from is almost certainly fake. This is what I'm looking for in this play. I'm gonna link the playlist if I can somewhere on the screen. Otherwise, everything that I've been talking about and some published research related to it is gonna be below as usual in the description. Sometimes I run out of links. Despite this, Tesla was clearly interested in electromagnetic energy, and the takeaway still has merit. This is what my whole thing is about. This is why I'm still making these videos about the interview. Because okay, so people are saying, okay, so the interview is quote unquote fake. Even if it's fake, there's value, still has merit, because the argument is really interesting. And as I said, at the end of the day, I'm looking into the whole work of Tesla, and I'm corroborating, and I'll be putting forward some of the real articles from Tesla, some of the real ideas, and tying it. It says here, let's not get into the discussion of the origin of that interview. Let's just examine the claim at face value, as it is arguably more interesting than the story of the interview likely being part of the play about Tesla from Eastern Europe. It says, it's arguably more interesting than the story of the interview. I would say no. The story of the interview is really interesting, especially if you go into the 1900s with the advent of quantum physics, contemporary to the rise of occultism, or these occultism groups like the Masons, the Rosicrucians, the modern era Rosicrucians, modern era Masons, the Theosophists, and some other quote-unquote spiritists that were looking into the philosopher's stone, into the roots of alchemy, into this ether, into all these things that little by little we start understanding through science. And all this disconnection from the Western world with Eastern ideas. You have to remember that Blavatsky, the founder of Theosophy, went to live in India because there were some similarities with the theories, and they thought they were going to be more accepted over there. So we were seeing this merging of the ideas, and the whole idea that this interview came from an occult publication is really interesting, because everything ties together. However, whatever the takeaway, it still has merit from this interview, and this is what I'm doing. So second off, from one perspective, light is what we call a certain wavelengths of electromagnetic that our eyes can perceive as different colors. However, for the claim everything is a light to be taken seriously at all, we have to consider light to be a synonym for all electromagnetic force, where photons, light, electricity, magnetism, electricity, cosmic energy, magnetism, electromagnetic force, that which arises like electrons, etc., is all the same thing. Alright, so he keeps going forward. The first part of the image, this image of the whole thing, you can go through it. The first part of the image shows the particles make up all known matter and energy. All known matter and energy is on these particles in this chart. Of those, only the gluon and photon are massless. The second part shows how all the forces and fermions of the standard model relate. As you can see, we can break these all down to just a few key properties, all of which relate back to terms like mass, energy. Now, if we note that mass is potential energy, E equals mc squared, which can be released as kinetic energy as photons. Charge is kinetic energy, which can be released as photons. And 3, spin is a type of motion, a quality. And one of the only qualities of electromagnetic energy is that it always travels at light speed, unimpeded. We can see that everything a given quantum particle does can potentially be explained by photons, light particles. So when I looked at that, I guess I'll go into it right here, because otherwise I'm gonna forget about it. When I looked at that interview where this quote-unquote Tesla says that everything you heard, you learn, you read, you see accompanies you in the form of light particles. And if we go into the ORCH OR theory, the orchestrated objective reduction theory by Penrose and Hameroff, and I made a video about this. I'm going to link the ORCH OR theory right now on the screen. If you don't know about the ORCH OR theory, this is the most important theory of consciousness and perhaps even of quantum that has come forward, and we have to look at it closely. What they're saying is that all that you live throughout your life is stored in the brain as quantum information, and I tie that other research where it says that memories exist at the synaptic, cellular, and molecular level. They exist potentially at the quantum level. Your memories, the way that you recall memories. So this is consciousness. What is consciousness? Is getting this quantum information, perhaps into the microtubules in your brain, storing them in the microtubules in your brain acting as some sort of a storage, some sort of a receiver. And Tesla said, my brain is only a receiver. So this is how the brain acts. It interprets the world. It compiles this quantum information, which might be, as it says in that interview, and I'm gonna link the interview right now, where it says that everything accompanies you as light or particles. We're looking into something huge right here, and I'm trying to make these correlations. I know that for a lot of people it might just sound crazy, but I will try to polish this argument, and I can go into the links and you can go through them yourself. You make your own mind, but we're talking about something really, really interesting here. And now we have this guy saying here that yes, everything can be tracked down to photons. I'm gonna elaborate on this maybe at the end of the video. This whole channel is about this. Now consider everything in the universe is made from atoms. Atoms are made from composite particles, and composite particles are made from massless particles, and those are made from gluons and photons, aka being made of stars. So this is what I said a few minutes ago, talking about, okay, you look into molecules. What is in the molecules? A bunch of atoms. Okay, so what is the atom? The atom at the core is made from composite particles, and you go into the electrons and neutrons and so on, and you go into what these are made of. These composite particles, what are they made of? They are made from massless particles, and you go into quarks and so on and so forth. And when you go into the core of it, they're made of gluons and photons. And at the core, what all of this is, do you know the theory of Einstein is that they're strings, they're vibrations, they are pure energy. And if you go into the ideas of vibration, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything at the core is pure energy. This is what we're talking about here, aka everything is made of stars. So it's the same composites everywhere. So if you want to know more about these things, just go through the links. Just sit down half an hour, 1 hour of your day to understand things, to learn things that maybe will make you understand things a little bit better. All matter in the universe, including humans, is made of star stuff. We're, why is this important? Okay, it's a nice thing to say, and then you think about, there's a quote, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's this mainstream scientist, and he talks about it. What is something that makes you excited about things or about the universe or something of that nature? And he talks about this. We are made of stardust, hence we have a connection with the cosmos, and now you go into the whole idea that they prove that this, you know, we've been talking over and over about it, about this spooky action at a distance. They recently confirmed this is a real thing. This spooky action at a distance, which is quantum entanglement, is a real thing, and this is why the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics was given to the people who confirmed this in previous years. And with the final research happening in 2015, they confirmed this is a real thing. And I made a video about it. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen. If I run out of links, you can find it below. It's about confirming that the universe is not locally real. There's no locality in the universe. Everything seems to be connected somehow, because everything is made of the same thing. We're living in a matrix of information. Okay, so it keeps going forward. If it is that gluons and photons can be explained by a grand unified force, then there simply leaves little to nothing left that can't be explained by photons as electromagnetic mass energy in motion in relative position in space time. In other words, if we use light, quote unquote, as a synonym for all electromagnetic force, and then we assume a bunch of theories related to electromagnetic force, we can say all known standard model particles can be explained by photons to some extent in theory. So yes, we're gathering into all these brainstorm ideas that we're doing, but at the core, it is plausible. It is plausible. Thus, the theory that Tesla is said to have said, but probably didn't, well, just as I said, I will go into that. Making this video for me is a little bit of a break from going into the interview, because this interview has so much to say. But now what I want to do, instead of having the Tesla's interview as a philosophical framework for what I'm trying to say, now I'm trying to provide a scientific framework for the interview of Tesla, or the quote-unquote Tesla, or attributed to Tesla, or which is enhancing the ideas of Nikola Tesla. So it's plausible. In fact, I would say it is more plausible than any other theory that suggested that there was one single substance from which the universe is created. And this is what the interview is about. This is what the whole interview is about. And if you go outside of the interview and you look into some of the other articles or essays from Tesla, he talks about this luminiferous ether, which he came about with the idea from studying Sanskrit texts, from ancient Hindu texts, and goes into the Akasha, goes into this luminiferous ether and the ki and the prana and the life force, and he says everything in the universe is made from this one single force. And this is not in the interview, in the quote-unquote fake interview. This is actual ideas from Tesla. And then we tied to the whole, as I said, this movement in the 1900s, both in the quantum field, the quantum theory pioneers and the occultists talking about these things. Everything seems to be connected somehow. This is a huge disclosure into what might be the reality of our world. Clearly, electromagnetic force is at the core of everything to some extent, but is it the only thing? That is a question we can't answer for sure. So the article ends up saying, we know we are made of star stuff. We know photons are central to the universe as understood by the standard model. We know that we can explain the core of all real systems of one or more particles with theories like energy equivalent to the mass of a system with the relation of motion considered. Einstein's mass energy equivalence E equals mc squared. This is why this is the most important mathematical formula, because it is hinting at the truth about reality, about the universe. Mass energy is an equivalence. It's the same thing. Everything is made of energy. Energy at the core. We can say everything is made of light. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about pure energy, pure information. And we know all quantum particles can be explained by mass, energy, and motion. So it's not far out to ponder the idea that everything is the light, quote unquote. It goes on here, if everything is light, then the only thing that isn't light is nothing. So, you know, you talk about the binary system 0 and 1, being and not being. There is something, everything is a lie. Well, maybe there's nothing. Oddly though, one can look into the universe and actually find nothing. You click all these links, take half an hour to learn about things. The universe is mostly empty space. It's a myth. the universe and everything in it, including humans, is mostly empty space. However, space is not actually empty, it's filled with quantum fields and dark energy. We don't really know what this dark energy is. Quantum fields, then we go into the idea of fields. There is the quantum fields, there is the electromagnetic field, there is, according to Rupert Sheldrake, the morphic fields, different ideas to understand the same thing. And now when we think about information in a system, the particles, like it says in that interview from Tesla, light particles. So just think about quantum information is the bits of information. They exist in a system. Then what is the system? The system is the field. And now going with this, it reminded me to that video I made about Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen. I called it a scientific framework for the soul. According to Einstein, we do not explain fields in terms of matter. We understand matter in terms of energy within fields. So when we think about these fields, we can start talking about, and some people are not gonna see it, and some people are gonna see it straight away. We can talk about these quote-unquote spirits, or the spirit, or consciousness as a whole, or souls. This is why I'm talking about the framework of the soul, a scientific theory of the soul, because we are bits of energy on a larger system, which might be fragmented by individual units of consciousness, as Tom Campbell speaks in his theory. And I haven't even made a single video about Tom Campbell in this channel. I'll be doing it soon. However, this is what we're looking at. So now we explain why is all of this relevant, or how could it be important? How could it help us understand more about reality and the universe? Alright, so why does it matter that everything is the light? Why, if we come to this conclusion, what does it mean? Why does it matter? It doesn't really. What we're looking at is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is electromagnetic energy. Why does it matter? Because we're looking at what everything is made of. The core of the reality we inhabit. The pieces, the fundamental bits and parts of the game that we are all playing, and we cannot stop playing. We cannot rule. Some people rule, get out of it, through the way of just offing themselves off, but most of us are just gonna remain in it. And knowing the fundamental nature of the game that we're playing could go a long way, specifically if we understand that we are all, as it says here or somewhere, we're all made of star stuff, stardust, whatever you want to call it, and everything seems to be correlated. So what I want to do in this channel is I'm setting a scientific framework for what is found also in ancient philosophies, aka religions or myths or mythologies or ancient cultures, so on and so forth, and the reports of altered states of consciousness. I mentioned I'm not really sure how I'm going to introduce altered states of consciousness in this channel. Most likely it's gonna be the analysis of altered states of consciousness is gonna be a private section in this channel, because of the sensibility of the topics, which can have a negative connotation. We're not explained, we're not put into certain context. Now, what I realize is that I speak about these altered states of consciousness, however, my channel does not include them. And I think I speak like if I understood that everybody knows about these altered states of consciousness. But what I've realized that a lot of people don't even know what this is all about, don't even know what an altered state of consciousness is. They never even heard about near-death experiences, despite the fact we're getting closer to that the research and the data on it has increased on and on and on, and it's been, as I mentioned, and there was this consensus statement for the future research of near-death experiences that happened this year in 2022. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen. This is being taken seriously by science, and it's beginning to be studied. And now, interestingly enough, on that video on Tesla, somebody commented and they shared their own experience. So I guess I'll use this experience as a way to further explain why all of this could matter. The fact that everything is the light. So in this video, somebody commented and they shared with us their experience. And please, if you want to share your experience, please do it, because by you sharing your experience, and I'm really grateful by some of the people who sometimes they share their experiences. This happened on other social media as well, wherever I'm publishing and I'm sharing my work. Sometimes people reply with their own experience, and the things that I'm talking about, the framework that I'm putting forward, it helps them validate their stories in a way, in a sense. We don't really know what the mystery at the core is, but it is right here. So she said, I died once, bled to death, stopped breathing, resuscitated with emergency surgery while I was in this dead state, because it is dead. What they are saying in this scientific consensus statement for the future research of NDEs is that they don't want to call them NDEs anymore. They want to call it RDEs, recalled death experiences, because clinically these individuals are dead. I became conscious within complete darkness, suspended in darkness. Then a spark of light appeared, like a pinhole of light in all this darkness. The light grew bigger, brighter, as I remained suspended in this darkness, just watching the light. The light, everything is the light, it seems, eventually grew so big, it swallowed me up, picked me up, and placed me on new earth. People were energy, like golden orbs. I won't go into detail about that, but when you mentioned darkness with a spark of light at about the 7-minute mark, it reminded me of this experience, and I thought I would share it. Thank you so much for sharing this in the video. I think a lot of people, this video is becoming quite popular because it talks about the ether, it talks about Nikola Tesla, one of the core ideas of Nikola Tesla. So a lot of people are gonna get into this video without even knowing about NDEs, and perhaps reading your experience, they might understand that we're talking about something larger, something much more complex, and a huge mystery that is asking to be solved. And we have all this information coming forward, especially these people were energy like golden orbs. So stories like this one that was shared, they are in the hundreds of millions of reports similar to this story, and this is only near their experiences. Now, when you go into psychedelics, when you go into the UFO report, UFO related reports, and so on and so forth, people are talking about light beings. They are talking about this light that suddenly appears out of this darkness. This darkness, for some of them, they feel a little bit scared. Some of them feel like this is not a negative thing. It just is. But then there is this light. What is this all about? What's the nature of this? Are we making contact with something? Are we understanding what divinity is at the core? This is why it's called a rational divine outline, because we're trying to understand what perhaps was known as divinity in the past, and today we have data, we have research, we have science that is putting all of this into perspective. So why is this important? It is important because we're setting a framework, a scientific framework. Now that we have all the data, we have the tools to do it, to what ancient philosophies ranging from Buddhism to Christianity to any of the Abrahamic religions are talking about, the theme of light, to this modern altered states of consciousness. We are looking at a big mystery, with the ORCH OR theory and with all of this information that we have. We are on the brink of getting us closer to a more accurate definition of what our reality might be. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A rational divine outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.